All right, everybody, this is my power distribution unit. I built this myself. What it is it's a road case that on one side has a circuit breaker panel, and on this side has this panel that I had machined. And the panel has these amp and volt meters. It has 18 spots for GFCI receptacles. It has, I don't know if you can see it here, but here and here on the two hots that are coming in, it has little LEDs that show that they are in fact energized. And then it has these little, again, I don't know if you can see them. Here's a good one. It has these little test points where I can stick a meter probe in. So here, I can show you. So I can take a meter and I could stick it in to these two probe points, and it'll show me 242.5 volts AC. So if I put it across the one of the hots in the neutral, it shows me half of that, or roughly half of that. So these probe points are kind of like a safety feature, so that you don't have to actually go in the back of the panel and post your or put your test probe right on something hot, you know. And they're really small. And I also have circuit breakers on them, so just in case one of the kids were to stick something in there, the circuit breaker would blow rather than letting them get electrocuted. So if you've ever come out to our display and it was raining and maybe the display wasn't on, this is why. These GFCIs keep people from getting electrocuted, or keep, when something's wet, keep the electricity from leaking out of the circuit. And unfortunately, sometimes they trip, and when they do, the controllers downstream from whichever one tripped doesn't work, and then the whole light show goes out. So that's why we normally turn it off when it's raining. But some other things with this panel, it's fed here with these cam locks. These are rated at 400 amps. I'm only drawing, maxing out at 100 amps per connector. So this is a 200 amp panel. So we have two hots, a neutral and a ground. And then again, all my circuits here and all my cords that go out to the outside. And that's what I'll show you next. So here's where the cables go out. As you can see, I kind of have a little bit of a mess here on the floor, but it doesn't really matter. What I do is I just have them going right out underneath the garage door. I adjusted my garage door to not go down, you know, it basically goes down about a ½ inch less than it normally would. So one thing I wanted to show before we head outside is I made this cable here. See if we can get it. There we go. Has a regular 20 amp plug on one side. It's a male, and then a female on this side. But what I did is I have the hot lead kind of sticking out here, and I have it all, I have shrink wrap tubing around it. And the purpose of this is, what I do is I turn every single light on. So the controllers are basically running at full blast. Everything is on. And then I'll take my clamp meter and I'll plug each controller into this and then plug it into its receptacle. And I'll take my clamp meter and I'll put it around it, and I'll make sure that the extension cord is not drawing more than it's rated for. And what I actually do is I keep my extension cords at 80% of their capacity. So let's say an extension cord is rated at 10 amps, I'll keep it at 8 amps. Or, you know, if it's a 20 amp cord, you know, I'll keep it at 16 amps. That way I have a little bit of headroom just in case, you know, there's a little spike or something like that, but just to be safe. And then I also go and do a kind of a physical check. When everything's running, I'll just go and I'll grab each cord, you know, just to make sure that nothing's hot. Luckily, the cement floor here in the garage stays kind of cool, so it keeps everything cool, but I never seem to have any problems, but I just wanted to point that out. So now we'll head outside. Okay, so here we are coming out of the garage. cables kind of go everywhere. We have our first controller here. I kind of keep the cables all as much as I can off the ground, but some of them just have to lie on the ground. One thing I want to show you is I have landscape lighting, and there's a little day and dusk to dawn sensor here. So what I do is I put a little, this is a C7 light bulb. I just put it there, and when the lights are on, I'll keep this on all the time, and that keeps my landscape lights from going on when the Christmas lights are on. And then once I'm done, this shuts off, and then this thing automatically turns on. Another thing I want to point out is, you get a little closer here, you can see I stack all of my lights. It's okay to stack it like this. It's just not okay to run more than 3 of these lights end to end. To stack them like this, you could essentially stack it as far as you can go. I try to keep it under 10, but this is for this bush here. Under this bag is one of the controllers. This is one of the Lightorama controllers. I've switched over to some Renard controllers also, just because they're cheaper, but they don't allow as much capacity. So right under that bag is a Lightorama controller. Here's my radio sign. All it is it's a pre-punched piece of Coroplast, which is corrugated plastic, and the Christmas lights, you just punch them through to make the numbers. So there's the Tune 2 sign, 92.9, that's the station I'm broadcasting on. Here's the Mega Tree. What it is there's a pole that, I don't even know how tall it is this year. I change it every year, but there's a pole that goes into a hole. Basically a piece of PVC pipe that's in the ground. If you can see it here. And that PVC pipe is cemented in, and then I just dig up the hole and bury it each year. And then there's PVC pipe right there. This thing, just a piece of actually it's electrical conduit that's just bent, and that makes the ring, and everything is zip tied at the bottom. And if you notice, each string of lights has its own extension cord that goes back to one of these controllers back here. So that's the Mega Tree. Now we're looking at the wreaths, and these wreaths, they actually look kind of ugly during the day, but they have 50 RGB pixels on them. What that means is that each bulb has a red, green, and blue LED in it, and the computer can control the brightness of each bulb, and you can then mix the colors and create other colors. My windows have steel frames on them that I've kind of welded together. It's probably hard to tell. Let me see if I can get in closer. So here you can see the frame. So the purpose of this is that I just mount everything inside where it's warm and dry, and then I quickly come out here and just hang them up. So this is the first year I've used those, and they've worked out really well. I have a set of C7s and a set of white mini lights on them. Everything except the pixels on the wreaths are incandescent, so I'm old school. Here's one of the controllers for the arches. You have power coming in, and then you have data coming in and data going out. And this is why when a GFI trips, we really, even if it's just one that trips, we have to turn most of the light show or all of the light show off, because if these boards don't have power, they can't relay the signal. So if you get one at the very beginning of the chain that goes out, it can't relay the signal down to the rest. So normally if one goes out, I just shut it all off, because it's just problems the whole night. These are the boards that control my arches. So I have one 8-channel board per arch. Here's a close-up look at one of the arches. What they are is they are just, I think it's 1-inch PVC pipe, and you wrap the lights around them, and they're wrapped around in 8 individual sections. They look kind of messy during the day, but at night they look good. And then you just illuminate each section. The controller tells, section 1 to turn on, and then section 2 and section 3, and if you time it right, it kind of looks like they're leaping. The stands are made out of, I found this, I think it's like 1/2-inch steel plate, and it had holes already in it, so I could put some stakes in, and then let me see if I can get this out. You can see I just welded some threaded rod. It's probably hard to see here, but I welded some threaded rod, and that's how I support the arches. It works pretty well. And then I kind of put a stand here to keep the controllers up off the ground in case it snows or rains. Over here is one of the trees that we have. I kind of just throw the lights around it, wrap them around it pretty quickly. It looks, again, everything looks horrible during the day, but at night it looks awesome. Some bushes. I have some more controllers back here. There's a controller there, a whole pile of wires. There's a frame for the door over here. There it is, a security camera. I have security cameras mounted so I can just keep an eye on everything. Over here, there's a whole pile of wires. Every circuit needs its own cord because every circuit is controlled individually. That's how they flash on and off. Over there behind the bush is some more controllers. And I'll post some links to the different controllers in the description below if anybody's interested in. You can buy them pre-assembled or you can buy them as kits. So I buy the kits and I assemble them myself. It saves a lot of money, so if you know how to solder, it's not that difficult. One of the questions I often get asked is, where do I store all the lights? So I have these bins, and what's nice about them is that when you close them up, you can stack a bunch of them on top. So they sell these at Home Depot. I got some at Home Depot, and I also got some at a surplus place that's nearby. And the way I store my lights is I wrap them in these balls. So what I do is I actually start with the other end of the cord, and I wrap half of it around my hand. And then once I get halfway through, I wrap it around like that. And you get these nice balls of lights that don't really get tangled at all. And, excuse me, they are easy to unwind, especially when you're doing a tree. So you take this plug, you plug it in, and then you just start unraveling and wrapping it around a branch, and it's the easiest way to go. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. So I have about 20 or 25 of these that I pack up all the lights in. I even put some of the cords in these, and then I just stack them in the basement along the wall. Keeps everything, contained and out of the dampness in the basement, and it works out. So some of these lights, this is my 9th year using. What I do is I go through the lights every year. It's kind of a pain, but I just do it in front of the TV. I plug them in and I check each bulb, and if there's a dead bulb out, I have a bunch of spare bulbs. I replace the bulb, and as long as you keep all the bulbs working, or at least, so that if you have a 100 count set of lights, if you have at least, 97% of the bulbs working, you should be good. If one of the bulbs goes out, or if too many of the bulbs go out, what happens is the rest of the bulbs have to consume that the power that's going to the light set. So if you lose too many, you'll notice that the bulbs that are remaining and working will get brighter and brighter, and therefore they're getting warmer, which burns out the little filament, and then eventually you'll have the whole set go. So if you want to continue to use your lights year after year, just take the time and replace any of the dead bulbs. You know, you can use that little packet of bulbs that comes with each set. Or what I do is I just have extra sets when, you know, maybe when I can't repair them, I throw them in a box. And I have tons of, you know, sets that are dead or half dead that I can't fix, and I'll just pull one of the bulbs out and replace it. So it's a good trick and keeps me from having to buy lights every year. So here is where the lights are controlled. This year I'm running a trivia game. I wrote some software. The way it works is someone pulls up to our house and they tune into our radio station, 92.9, and they'll hear like a welcome message that's playing, and it says, if you want to see our lights, you know, you have to show us your Christmas spirit, so on and so forth. We kind of try to make it playful. And they have to send a Merry Christmas to our text messaging number. When they do that, we use a service called Twilio, and they take the SMS message and they send it to a web service, which is, it's just a little program on the internet that's listening for Twilio to contact them, and that runs on this machine right here. This is a laptop that I got at a surplus place. It's where I got some of the other stuff out there, so I'll post a link. And all it's doing is running a web service, and when that web service gets one of the messages, the program, you know, handles it. So it puts it in a database, and then there's a program that's executing continuously to analyze it and figure out what to do. After the viewer answers 3 questions correctly, then they see the lights, you know, light up and dance to the music. And the way that works is I have a 8-channel USB relay board here. So this web service dumps into the database, and then there's a Windows service that's running, and he is the one that basically keeps the game moving and controls the state of everything. So he triggers this relay board, and then this relay board is hooked up to, this is a Lightorama input pup. Really what the purpose of this board, what they designed it for, was to be outside and allow you to put buttons all around your display, so that someone could come up and push one of the buttons and maybe, you know, your mega tree would light up. Push another button and the wreaths would dance or do something. So because Lightorama doesn't have an API for me to interact with, I kind of had to hack it. So I have a relay that I control with my service that then triggers the different inputs here, and then based on whatever input, then I have another computer over here that runs the Lightorama software, and he sends out all the timing signals to the lights. And the way that works is there's 3 different, well, 2 different ways. I do have some Lightorama boards, so I use this USB serial converter. Then I have, I'm running E131, which is DMX over Ethernet. So back here, right there, there's a little Ethernet switch. So those feed directly out to the controllers for the wreaths. And then for my Renard boards, there is a, what is this thing called? This is called a E131 bridge, and it's from DIY LED Express. I'm only using 1 port on there. This is a power supply that powers everything. We have a mixer here, because there is some audio that comes from the service, and there's some audio that comes from the Lightorama, like when the sequences are playing, so it's mixed here. I also have a microphone so that I can ask people, you know, if they have their stereos up loud or if they're blocking a driveway, I kind of just get on there and nicely ask them, hey, can you, move your car? Can you close your windows or something like that? After the audio comes out of the mixer, what we do is I feed it into this compressor limiter here. And basically what that does is help smooth out the levels so that if there's any like peaks, any spikes in the audio level, it kind of compresses them, keeps them all about the same. I also have everything hooked up to a battery backup, and that's just so that, if we have any power outage, I don't lose anything. And then the last thing is our FM transmitter. It's another question a lot of people ask me. So this is the transmitter right here. It's a Ramsey FM30B, and essentially all you do is you go and you find an empty radio station and you set it, and then you plug in your audio device and it broadcasts. It has a couple blocks range, and so that's it. So that's how you hear everything. So I hope everybody enjoyed the tour. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe if you like my channel. I really just post a lot of things, a lot of videos about things that I like, anywhere from Christmas lights to welding to fixing things. So you might get a kick out of it if you like this video. All right, thanks a lot. Merry Christmas.